helping people to know, live, and love the purpose for their career and finances. And we don't have all the time to get into it today, and I'm sure you don't want to hear about me as much as I'd like to talk about me, but I'll just say that there is no way in the world, no business do I have speaking to you on this kind of stage with this kind of platform with this kind of story, because where I came from and the things I've done in my life, shoot, I should be dead in jail or something else, because I did stupid with a capital S on it, and yet I'm here to survive to say that God brought me through and has allowed me to be able to share with you a little bit of that, but not so much that as much as it is what you see on the screen in front of you. No matter where you're at, today is an interesting time. And before we get cracking at the presentation, I'd love to just have a moment for us to kind of take a breath and pray for not only these next 15 minutes, this rest of the day, but also for our country at large. If you wouldn't mind joining me, and wherever you're at, take a moment to pray with me. So, Father, thank you, God, for having us here together. As much as it would be nice to be face to face, there's also the great opportunity for those who can't be, just because of time and space anyway, to be here online today. And so thank you for the ability to be here together in this format. Again, Lord, thank you for RUMC and all they've done and all they're doing and all they'll continue to do, as each and every day they've helped people grow and go in their career. And so just so thankful for the history and the leadership that it's been able to really make an impact, not only on me, but in the community, in this country, and this world. Father, there's a lot of unrest going on right now, Father, whether it's racial tension, COVID crisis, unemployment rate. But help us remember right now that you are in control. And help us to remember, God, that you call us to be able to do things that only we can do. And that's first to choose the higher way, the right path. Not the prideful thing, but the right thing. Help us to understand. Help us to act out of understanding. And help us to believe that you are bigger than this mountain that's in front of us. But help us to also remember that we're a part of the solution. So help us, God, today to be bigger than what's in front of us and to allow you to lead us to and through the next step. And Father, help us to love unconditionally, whether it be in our home, whether it be with our brothers and sisters next to us in our neighborhood or in our community at large, no matter the race, color, creed, no matter what, God, help us to be understanding that you made us in your image as your masterpiece. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, awesome, guys. So here we go. You see here in front of you. Right now, many of us are in a job search, or maybe many of us are in a career crisis. Or maybe you're just looking to do something different. Whatever the case may be, the question remains for all of us, is your job search, do you see it as an obstacle or as an opportunity? And that's what I want us to leave here in these next 15 minutes or so to remember. Is this an obstacle or is this an opportunity? And to bring illustration to that, to bring understanding to this question, and to help us to think about it, I'm going to share with you the 3 P's that I've learned through my study of the life of Joseph in the book of Genesis, the first book in the Bible. And if you couldn't tell already that I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and man, let me tell you guys, it's only because of him that I'm here today to even share with you. As I mentioned a little bit ago, for those that may just be joining us, I have no business being here giving an inspirational talk or an inspirational moment on what I'm about to share with you, because I did completely the opposite of this. If there's anything in my life, I saw things as obstacles, never opportunities. But my perspective changed, my position changed, my understanding changed, and I had the opportunity to not stay there. And I want to help you to break free from wherever you're at, to do the thing that God's called you to do with this question. Is your job search an obstacle or an opportunity? The 3 P's learned through the life of Joseph. And so we can look at it as such. Do you see before you today an obstacle, a big mountain that seems like it could not be moved? Some of you may have the understanding of how to hike that thing and trek over it. I do not. So is it an obstacle for you? Maybe so. My wife actually hiked Mount Kilimanjaro, not me. And that was before we met, by the way, because she'd probably ask me to come with her if I was married to her and at the time. And I'd probably say, nope, that's an obstacle. But I'm asking you, do you see an obstacle in front of you? Or do you see an opportunity? Do you see a road before you that has great, well, opportunity? Just said it. Doesn't get said better than that. So that's what I want to put in front of us today. Is it an obstacle, or is your job search an opportunity? And if you've been on a job search for any time at all, or maybe multiple times, you know the balance this can be. And there are days of the ups and downs and the all arounds that every second, every moment, they'll encourage you as a choice. Is a choice to see it as an obstacle or an opportunity. So let's take a look. One of the truths I want to share with you is that we are made, I believe, we are made for and with purpose. We're not an accident. We're not a mistake. These moments we're spending even in investing right now online are not a mistake. See, because we're made for and with purpose. So some notes that you might want to take, that's something you want to write down there. Just somewhere in your notebook or whatever you're looking at today. Maybe you have your resume in front of you, or maybe you have your cover letter, or whatever the case may be for a job search. Maybe it's your LinkedIn. Whatever the case may be, take a moment from that and write somewhere on the side, write, we are made for and with purpose. It's foundational. It's foundational. And I subscribe to and like to encourage people to look at that we're made for and with purpose. And I read that in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10. And it says, we are God's masterpiece, created anew in Jesus Christ. We're created for good works, the good works that God himself prepared in advance for us. We're made for and with purpose. Good works that he prepared for us. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. So take that in, write that down, take a look at it. Don't just take my word for it, but look at it yourself. The second thing I want you to remember is that we are a work in process. You may have heard it before, we're a work in progress, right? Well, that's true. We're a work in progress. But I'd like you to remember today, for today's purposes, that we're a work in process. Kind of like these seedlings you see in front of you, all nice and orderly and in their little, I don't know what that stuff's made out of. It looks like corrugate, but it's all organized, right? These little seedlings, they're about to be taken somewhere else, to be planted somewhere else, to be used somewhere else. They're not going to stay in this little organized garden, if you will. And that's how God made us, as his masterpiece, right? He says in his word too, that we are made in our mother's womb. He crafted us in our mother's womb. He knew us before we were in our mother's womb. He says he has plans to prosper us and not to harm us. But we are a work in process. So whatever you are, wherever you are in your job search right now, consider it being part of the process. And be okay with it. Gosh, if there's anyone that needs to hear these words exactly, it's me. Because if you're anything like me, I like it done like yesterday. I want it done now, right? I don't want to wait any longer. And I might have just started waiting about a second ago. I want it now. And we have a tendency to want to live like that. But what I want to share with you, as I was sharing with my little 5-year-old last night in bed, is the life of Joseph. And regardless if you're someone that reads the Bible often or maybe never at all, the life of Joseph is a lesson for all of us. And his story can be found in the first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis. But here's a young man, I forget how many brothers he has, 10 to 12, somewhere in that range. I forgot that little detail. But he's the youngest of all the brothers. And he's a son to a father that probably was, well, he was on the tail end of having children. His dad's name is Jacob, later on became Israel. And Israel means wrestle with God. And for those of you that know, Jacob wrestled with God for that blessing. And sometimes I feel like in a work of process, we are, give me that blessing. I want it now. I won't be satisfied till I have it, you know. And so here's Jacob. He has all these sons. And then he has Joseph. Joseph's his favorite. He says he's his favorite, probably because he's his last little miracle. And he has a very connected relationship to Joseph for more reasons than we can even read in the Bible. But that kind of irks his brothers. Maybe you have a sibling rivalry, but that kind of gets to his brothers a lot. And it doesn't help that Joseph tells them about it, right? So remember, for those of you that have read it, Joseph's father gives him this beautiful Technicolor coat. Oh, wait, isn't that a Broadway show? He gives him this coat of many colors. And in the New King James, it's called the tunic, which as I read to my 5-year-old boy last night, I had to just read it and say, his coat, right? His coat. And it's a beautiful coat. Can you imagine like Joseph strutting down the street and say, yeah, man, check out this gear, this swag I'm wearing. Daddy gave this to me. I'm daddy's pride and joy. Yeah, how would that go over? Like a lead balloon, right? But he did it anyway. And if that wasn't enough, Joseph used to have these dreams. He has these dreams that are gifts from God, but Joseph doesn't go about it so humbly. He tells all his brothers about it. Why? Because in those dreams, he learns that he's going to lord over something. He's going to rule over something. He's the best of the best. There's all kinds of comparisons being made. And out of the comparisons, the dreams tell Joseph that he's the bomb. He's the best. He's got it going on, right? He's got the strut moving forward. So that's what's going on with Joseph. And then again, kind of like the coat, he tells others about it. And he tells others about it in not so of a humble way, more pompous-esque, if you will. And that doesn't create so much of a great relationship building opportunity for him and his brothers. Maybe you've been that way. Maybe at one point in time, you had this job that took the cake. You were the top of the top, the best of the best. I know I have. Or maybe you're that salesperson like I was that had to tell everybody about that quota I met way beyond the deadline. Moving forward, as we read more about Joseph, we read that his brothers have devised a plan. They've conspired against him. They really want to kill him, but a couple of brothers, one brother, namely Reuben, steps up and says, no, we probably shouldn't kill him. He is our flesh and blood. Let's just go ahead and put him in a pit, make it look like he's been killed by some pack of wolves. We'll dip his coat in blood. We'll make sure Father gets it, and then Father will be done with Joseph, right? But Father weeps. He's got a broken heart. Here's an old man that's weary. He's tired in life, and now he has a broken heart. And we know what that can lead to. Think about it. This is not going so well. This process for Joseph, from daddy's favorite to being in a pit. Fast forward, Joseph then doesn't get killed, but he actually gets enslaved or sold. Sold to Egypt, sold to a band of travelers going to Egypt. I think it's the Ishmaelites. Going to Egypt. Then Joseph finds himself indentured. He finds himself in prison. He found himself then being called out by Pharaoh. Think about this process. Think about your job search. You have these ups and downs. He gets caught up by Pharaoh because he can interpret dreams. How cool is that? And then Joseph gets elevated, but then he gets attacked by Pharaoh's first in command, Potiphar's wife. And Potiphar says that Joseph attempted something not so nice with her, which is not true, which lands Joseph back in jail. Again, a process, up, down, all around, kind of like a job search. You're making phone calls, you're making contacts, you're getting on LinkedIn. We have a COVID crisis. We have racial tension in our society. We have financial issues. We have unemployment. There's a lot going on. Not unlike Egypt. A lot going on, and seemingly all at once. Well, I want you to read the story, but I want you to think a little deeper and put yourself in the situation. What would you do? Well, so as Joseph gets elevated and put down and back up and down, finally, towards the end of the story, Joseph becomes ruler for Pharaoh over all of his estate, over all of Egypt. Kind of looking like a vice president who has a lot of weight. He's not just a figurehead, he has a voice. And what he does is he takes all of the greatness and goodness of the land and stores it. When there was feast, he took it and stored a lot of it. He prepared for the worst because later on famine came. And again, reading the word in the book of Genesis for sake of time here, but reading it, and he has prepared for when times are a struggle. when there's an obstacle, doesn't seem like an opportunity. There was a process going on. There was a process. And when we look back at Joseph, his brothers come one day back when they need help, when times are rough, when times are tough. And as far as they're concerned, Joseph doesn't exist because they put him off. They don't know where he's at today. They sold him off to slavery. But his same brothers who put him into slavery come back and say, we need help. They come to Egypt and they're looking for help. They come to Pharaoh and they're looking for help, and they're intercepted by Joseph. And where Joseph should have been dead, he's actually the one providing, taking care of those that put him to death, his brothers. Again, this is a snapshot of this story in the sake of time. But this inspirational moment today, we got to remember that we have purpose, that we're going to go through a process. And you may be going through a process right now. But when God sees us through, it brings us what? Look on the screen. Perspective. We may not see the whole picture in 3D, HD, 4K, 1080p, whatever you want to call it. But if we choose to see it how God sees it, it brings us perspective. I ask you and invite you to see it with perspective. Because in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, we read this. We read, what many intended for evil, God brought for good. What many intended for evil, God brought for good. That's what I want you to take away today. I want you today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today, and even for the rest of the day. Remember the 3 P's. That you have purpose. That you're going through a process. And a job search is just a part of that process. There may be something even bigger going on. And that's what requires God's perspective. Because when we allow God to see us through, it brings us just that perspective. So, are we going to see this job search that you're in as an obstacle or an opportunity? And how we answer that question shows on our face, shows on how we carry ourselves, shows on interactions with others, not only our family and friends, our community at large, but also that opportunity that comes in a resume, in a LinkedIn conversation or emailing, and also in an interview. So I'm imploring you and encouraging you to choose opportunity, that this job search is an opportunity. Now, what brings me that? What even gets me to this place? Well, I'd love to invite you to check out how I got there, because like I said in the beginning, I should not even be speaking about this. But God lifted me up out of the pit to remind me that I'm his masterpiece, that I have purpose, that he has a plan for me, and I'm part of a process, and that my perspective is I better know my purpose, live it, and love it. Because if it's God's for me, it's going to be successful. So I would love to invite you to download my free ebook, very short ebook, that will give you a better understanding of how I come to terms with this and why I'm so excited to share it with you today in this little snapshot of the 3 P's of the life of Joseph. So go to brianhorvath.com/book and get your free ebook today. And so I just want to encourage you, because it's going to bring you more hope and help as you walk these next days out. Also, if you have questions, you can go put them in the chat box there if you're familiar with that, or you can just email me at brian@brianhorvath.com. I'd love to share with you answers to those questions, and if I have them. And if not, I'll either look them up or say I don't know. But just want to thank you guys for being here today with me. And remember the 3 P's: purpose, process, God's perspective. Thanks a lot.